Okay, quick lesson on linear regressions. Okay, so linear regressions and correlations are usually shown in a scatter plot, and we're trying to come up if there's a possible relationship between x and y axis. So if you have points that are scattered in this manner, you can kind of draw a line of best fit. So draw a line that would kind of like would be in the middle, right? So it's the line of best fit. So now you can draw a line of best fit, and this line is increasing. Therefore, the possible relationship between the x and y values is positive. Now, in a case that your scatter plot will have a trending plots that are decreasing, and you will draw the line of best fit, probably somewhere here, and then that would tell you that your possible correlation or your relationship between the x and y values is negative. Now, if you have scatter plots that you cannot write or determine the line of best fit, then this one means that there is no possible relationship between x and y. Sorry, no correlation. Okay, so this is just in a nutshell if you're given a graph. So an example of an increasing correlation is say for example the sales of ice cream compared to the weather. So as the weather increases, it gets hotter, the sales of ice cream would also increase, right? Negative correlation would be your like weight and the amount of time you exercise. So the more time you exercise on the x, your weight will decrease, right? So that's a negative correlation. Something without a correlation, like say for example, is there a relationship between how far you live away from school and the grades that you get? There's no possible relationship on that. So that's no correlation. Now, given a graph, like say for example, the one in number 1, and you can solve this using statistics, it's quite long, but if it is an algebra class, then the purpose of this is just for you to find trends on the relationship. So 06, 07, 08, 09, and 10. And your data is 21, 17, 16, 16, and 14. And so this one is not completely linear. And when you plug it in your scatter plot, you will notice that it is somehow decreasing. So if it is somehow decreasing, then you already know that your slope should be a negative. Okay. Now, if you will get the coefficient of correlation, which is R, then that would give you this data. So a coefficient of correlation could either just be from a positive 1 to negative 1, and of course midway is 0. So the more it's closer to the positive side, the data is telling you that there's a positive correlation, right? If it's at 0, then there is no correlation. Now the more it is leaning towards the negative, then it's a negative correlation. Since it's an algebra class, we usually just plug in the data in our calculator, right? So given this data, I think it's the first slide that you gave me, but okay, so given this data, you go to the lists, which is that little icon. So you go to the list and you just plug in your x, you just plug in your y, and then your x is 06, 2006. You can just write that as 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then in here, your data says 21, 17, 16, 16, and 14. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get data from the calculator to figure out what will be the equation of our line of best fit, right? So we really wanted to get the actual numbers of our line of best fit. So you go to an empty cell, you press menu, you go to statistics, which is 4, and then you go to stat calc, which is 1, and then it's a linear regression. So you go to 3, and then here your X list, it's the calculator is asking you, where do you want me to get your X list? Where initially you labeled your X list as your X. Sorry. Oops. And then your Y list is your Y. And you just go press OK. And here you go. So that's your slope, right? That's your M. That's your y-intercept, and your coefficient of regression is negative 0.9, which is closer to -1. So if you would have to graph it, it would be a negative correlation. The slope, since it's a decreasing data, it would also be a negative. And if you would go back to year 2000, then this data would have started at 28.8. And that's it.